Leaving Cert History student, let's discuss the Evaluation of Sources section of your RSR. So in your evaluation of sources, you're going to evaluate the 3 sources that you mentioned on the previous page in your outline plan. You should write the sources in the same order that they have appeared in your outline plan. So whatever source you mentioned first in your outline plan, evaluate that first. Whatever source you've mentioned second in your outline plan, evaluate that second. Whatever source you've mentioned third in your outline plan, evaluate that third. It is totally fine if you have consulted more than 3 sources, but you only need to list 3 in your outline plan and then evaluate 3 here in the evaluation of sources section. If you've used more sources, you can just list them at the end of your essay. So just put a little heading like additional sources used or extra sources consulted, and you can list the other ones there, and you don't need to evaluate them or anything else like that. So we're just evaluating the 3 sources that you've mentioned in your outline plan in your evaluation of sources section. So some people would suggest that in your outline plan, you should rank your sources from best to worst. So whatever source you found most useful, write that first. The next most useful source, you'd write that second. And then maybe the least useful, you'd write that third. And then again, you evaluate them in the same order in your evaluation of sources. You have 2 pages to complete your evaluation of sources, and I would recommend that you try and fill as much of that 2 pages as you can. So in your evaluation of sources, there's absolutely no need to write the full citation that you wrote in your outline plan again. That is just taking up space and it's quite tedious, all right? So you just number your sources, and again, you make sure that it's the same kind of order as on the previous page. So in your outline plan, you would have put number 1 and then whatever the source is, number 2, whatever the source is, 3, whatever the source is. In your evaluation of sources, you can just go 1 and then start writing about it, 2 and start writing about it, 3 and start writing about it. But again, just make sure it's in the same order as how you've listed it in your outline plan. So a really important point is this evaluation must relate to your project. The examples that you provide must be specific and not generic. What I mean by that is if you're telling me about a source, so if you're saying the source was great because it had loads of pictures, give me a specific example. So a picture of X, okay? A map on page Y. Okay, I should not be able to copy and paste your evaluation of sources to somebody else's project or somebody else's source. Okay, so you can't just say this book was useful. This book gave me lots of facts. Give me a specific example of the fact. Okay, so this book gave me lots of facts, for example, whatever it is. So now I have loads of different prompts for you to consider when you're evaluating your sources. And again, you don't have to answer all of these questions. You just answer the ones that would apply to you. So you can give me a brief outline or description of your source and the relevance of your source to the project, stating its strengths and weaknesses. It's important that you're honest and critical. If you thought a source would be good and it wasn't, then say so. Okay? If a source shows evidence of bias or propaganda, then say so. Okay? That's really impressive kind of historical, critical and analytical thinking. If you can pick those things out and show, I spotted this, I recognize this, and I'm flagging it. Try to find fault with your sources, even with your best one. For example, you could say something like a lot of the information was irrelevant. For example, chapters 4, 5, and 6, I didn't use any of that information. It didn't apply to my project. Let the corrector know if your source is a primary source or a secondary source, and again go through the strengths and weaknesses of each source. For example, the language was complicated. The author on page 10 uses words like X, Y, and Z, which I had to Google. And again, you're looking for strengths and weaknesses of each source. Don't forget to have a little look at the author. Do we know what the author's viewpoint is? Is the author objective? You could comment on how useful or comprehensive the source is. For example, does it deal with the entire topic or only like an aspect of the topic? Comment on whether or not the source is user-friendly, and again, give an example if that's relevant. You could comment on the language that we've mentioned already. Did you have to look up words? Was it too simplistic? Was it too difficult? Again, give examples. Are there images, maps, or diagrams? And again, provide examples. Are there useful links or a list of other relevant sources? And again, you could provide a page number or like a reference for this. Does the evidence in this source support or contradict other evidence in the topic? And again, give examples. Do we know how the author got his or her information? Does the author quote other sources? And again, give examples. Are there footnotes or endnotes? Is there a table of contents? Provide page number examples for this again. What did you learn from each source that you didn't from maybe the other sources that you studied? And once again, you don't have to answer all of these questions. These are just some prompts. You'd answer the ones that are relevant and applicable to you and your project. If your source is a website, you could comment on the layout and give specific examples. So the website had an interactive timeline, or it was really easy to use, or there was a search bar and I could search for words like whatever your project is, okay? A reliable website should have the author's name somewhere on the site. So could you find this? Was it easy to find? Or do you not know where this, who wrote this, where this information came from? Is the website outdated? So a lot of websites will say, last reviewed or last updated. When was the last time this site was updated? Have a little look at the website creator's credentials. So what do we know about this creator? Are they, an author? Are they a historian? Are they just someone who has an interest in history? Or has this just been kind of a hobby? Do we know any of those things? Because that could influence the information on the website. And again, mention what are the advantages and disadvantages of this website as a source, and you're providing specific examples again. So I liked that it had a photo album featuring X, Y, and Z, so I could see all the main people involved in the project. Now, if you're looking at a documentary, again, there's loads of different things that you could discuss. So was there a narrator, or was it just footage? Were there very strong accents? Were there subtitles? Was it kind of an accessible thing to watch? So again, if it's a documentary, you could mention, did they use original footage? Did music in the background help set the scene for the documentary? So once again, it's important to be critical of all of your sources and back everything that you are saying up. I should not be able to copy and paste this information from your project to somebody else's project. So provide specific examples of photographs or page numbers or table of contents, just things like that, because you really want to show, to prove that you have studied these sources and that they're relevant to your project.